Welcome to Chapter 8, Carousel Controls. This chapter introduces the NetAdvantage carousel controls and how to utilize carousel view settings. This also includes how to assign a path to a carousel using path effects, navigating the carousel, and assigning data. This chapter contains two labs. The first covers the XAM carousel panel, and the second covers the XAM carousel list box. The carousel controls include the XAM carousel panel, the XAM carousel list box, and the XAM data carousel. The XAM carousel panel is derived from the WPF panel class and arranges a collection of child UI elements along a designated path. Like any other WPF panel, such as the stack panel or grid, XAM carousel panel can contain any type of WPF element. The XAM carousel list box combines the layout capabilities of the XAM carousel panel with the item management and selection capability of the WPF selector control class. The WPF list box is an example of a selector control. As a result, the XAM carousel list box works exactly like a WPF list box. Carousel list items can contain any type of WPF content. Items can be formatted using data templates, and all items are selectable. The XAM data carousel is a XAM data presenter that uses the carousel view to arrange tabular data along a specified path. This control supports all XAM data presenter functionality for displaying a table of data within a carousel view. Carousel view settings allow for customization of the carousel within all three controls. Some of the view settings properties are item path, which is the path the carousel flows along. As a result, a carousel can flow along any path shape. The isList continuous property allows items to flow along a visibly continuous loop. Item path render pen and item path render brush allow a path to be rendered with a specific drawing pen and brush. Items per page provides the means for setting the number of visible items on the path. A few more of the carousel view settings properties are item path prefix %, which sets an offset for where to start drawing items at the beginning of the path, and item path suffix %, which sets an offset where to end the drawing of items along the path. Stops specifies percentage positions along the path for rendering various path effects. Scaling effect stops are stops which specify where along the path an item should be scaled up or down. Opacity effect stops specify where along the path to change the opacity of items. Skew angle X effect stops and skew angle Y effect stops allow for skew transforms to be applied at various stops along the path. And lastly, Z-order effect stops allows specifying the Z-order of items at specific stops. End users can navigate through carousel items using the Carousel Panel Navigator control. The appearance of this control can be customized by binding a style resource to the Carousel Panel Navigator style property in the carousel view settings. And it's time for the first lab in the chapter, which covers XAM Carousel Panel. Welcome to the XAM Carousel Panel lab. In this lab, we'll learn how to set up a basic XAM Carousel Panel control to display data. We'll also add some navigation functionality to the project using the XAM Tab control. This video is for Task 1, Exercise 1, and in this task we'll add the XAM Carousel user control to the project and create a tab for it in the XAM Doc Manager control. Starting in Visual Studio, go to the Solution Explorer window, right-click on the View folder and select Add, then User Control. In the Add New Item dialog window, we'll verify the user control template is selected and enter XAM Carousel in the name field. Then we can click Add to close the dialog window and add the control to the project. Next, in the XAML view of XAM Carousel Controls.xaml, we'll change the width and height properties to auto. Then we're going to open window1.xaml. Let's locate and select the tab group pane element in XAM Doc Manager 1. And in the Properties window, click the ellipsis button next to the Items property. In the Collection Editor dialog window, we'll verify Content pane is selected in the Item dropdown, and then click the Add button to add a Content pane object to the collection. Verify the new Content pane is selected, and then in the Properties list set Allow Docking to False, Allow Floating Only to False, Header to XAM Carousel, and Name to Carousel pane. Then click OK to close the dialog window. Next, let's build our solution. Lastly, in the XAML view of window1.xaml, add the XAML Carousel user control to the XAML Carousel content pane element. This completes exercise 1. Welcome to task 1 of exercise 2 of the XAML Carousel panel lab. In this task, we're going to add the XAML tab control to the user control. We're going to start in the XAML view of XAML Carousel.xaml. The first thing we're going to do is add a declaration for the Infragistics Windows XML namespace. Once that's done, add a XAML tab control to the grid element. Select the XAML tab control, and then in the Properties window, set Allow tab closing to True, set Tab Item Close button visibility to When Selected or Hot Tracked, set Tab Layout Style to Single Row Size to Fit, and set Theme to Office 2K7 Blue. Continuing in the Properties window, click the ellipsis button next to the Items property. In the Collection Editor dialog window, click Add twice to add 2 Tab Item X objects to the collection. Select the first Tab Item X object and set its header to XAML Carousel panel and set Is Selected to True. Next, select the second Tab Item X object, and in the Properties list, set its header property to XAML Carousel list box. Then click OK to close the dialog window. Let's run the project. And if we click on the XAML Carousel tab, we should see 2 additional tabs named XAML Carousel Panel and XAML Carousel List Box. This completes task 1 of exercise 2. Welcome to task 1 of exercise 3 of the XAML Carousel Panel lab. In this task, we're going to add a XAML Carousel panel control, set some properties, and add items to it. We're going to start in the XAML view of XAML Carousel.xaml. Here we're going to add a XAML Carousel panel control to the XAML Carousel panel tab item X element. Then we'll select the XAML Carousel panel control, and in the Properties window, we'll set View Settings to Carousel View Settings, which will open an additional list of properties. Under View Settings, we're going to set Is List Continuous to True, set Is Navigator Visible to True, set Item Size to 100, 100, and set Items Per Page to 9. Back in the XAML view of XAML Carousel.xaml, we'll add an image object to the XAML Carousel panel control with its source set to Images, Panel Area 2D.png, its height set to 100, and its width set to 100. We're then going to add several additional images to the XAML Carousel panel. Then we can run the project. If you click the XAML Carousel tab, you should see the XAML Carousel panel control populated with images. Images can be cycled using the user interface or the mouse wheel. And this completes the XAML Carousel panel lab. The item path property utilizes a standard WPF path element. In this XAML snippet, a path shape is declared within the resources map of the XAM data carousel element. The path resource is then assigned to the item path property within the view settings of the carousel. The easiest way to generate a path is with an application such as Expression Blend. The paths created by Expression Blend use a XAML shorthand. The path.data property defines the path. The shorthand is shown in the XAML here. The M stands for move to, which is the starting point of the path. C stands for curve, and the numbers which follow the C define the curve. A XAML path can be expressed in a longer fashion as shown in the XAML here. Both longhand and shorthand versions will work with the NetAdvantage carousels. For assigning data, each carousel control comes with a specific approach. The XAM carousel panel, like any other WPF panel, allows elements to be assigned declaratively or programmatically to the children property. XAM carousel list box, like the standard WPF list box, allows items to be assigned declaratively, programmatically, or through data binding with optional data templating. The items and item source properties are available for assigning data. We recommend using the item source property for data binding. For the XAM data carousel, data can be bound with XML, datasets, and observable collections declaratively and programmatically. After data is assigned, the data presenter will auto-assign XAM editors to each property within the data. Unlike the XAM data grid, the XAM data carousel is limited in the number of fields it can display. The data items and data source properties are available for adding data. Use the data source property for data binding. And it's time for the last lab in this chapter, which covers the XAM carousel list box. Welcome to the XAM carousel list box lab. In this lab, we'll learn how to use the XAM carousel list box control by configuring various features. Along with data binding, we'll be setting up appearance features such as custom paths, opacity effects, and scaling effects. This video is for task 1 of exercise 1, and in this task we're going to add a XAM carousel list box control to the project and begin configuring it with some basic settings. We're going to start in the XAML view of xamcarousel.xaml, and we're going to locate the XAM carousel list box tab item X element and add a XAM carousel list box control to it. Next, we'll select the XAM carousel list box control, and in the Properties window, select Carousel View Settings in the drop-down list for the View Settings property. Under the View Settings property, set item size to 200 by 150, and set reserve space for reflections to false. Back in the XAML view of xamcarousel.xaml, add XAML tags for the user control object's resources collection. Next, we'll add a data template object to the resources collection of the user control and set its key property to carousel item template. We'll be populating this template in the next task. Continuing in the XAML view, locate the XAM carousel list box control and bind its item source to the products property of the view model and bind its item template to carousel item template. And this completes task 1 of exercise 1. Welcome to task 2 of exercise 1 of the XAM carousel list box lab. In this task, we'll create the item template to display the data in the XAM carousel list box. First, let's open Expression Blend and create a new project. In the New Project dialog window, select the WPF application template and enter Carousel Template into the name field. Set the language to your preference. Then we can click OK to create the new project. In the Objects and Timeline panel, right-click on Layout Root. In the Context menu, select Change Layout Type, followed by Border. This will change layout root from a grid element to a border element. With layout root selected, in the Properties panel, under the Brushes category, select Background and then Solid Color Brush. We'll then enter sort of a light blue color. Continuing in the brushes category, select border brush followed by solid color brush. Then in the color picker, we're going to select black. Moving on to the appearance category, set layout route's border thickness to 2 and set its corner radius to 15. Moving to the Tools panel, let's add a grid element to the border element. With the grid element selected, in the Properties panel under Layout, set the grid element's width to 180 and set its height to 120. Then continuing in the Layout category, we'll click the Show Advanced Properties button and then click the ellipsis button next to the Column Definitions property. In the Column Definition Collection Editor dialog window, we'll click the Add Another Item button twice to add 2 column definition objects to the collection. Select the first column definition entry and in the Properties list, set its width to 2 star. Then select the second column definition entry and verify its width property is set to 1 star. Then we can click OK to close the dialog window. Continuing in the Layout category, click the ellipsis button next to the Row Definitions property to open the Row Definition Collection Editor dialog window. In this dialog window, click the Add Another Item button 4 times to add 4 row definition objects to the collection. Verify each row definition object has a height of 1 star, and then click OK to close the dialog window. Now in the Tools panel, let's locate the Border tool and add a border element to the grid. In the Properties panel, in the Brushes category, we'll select Border Brush and then select Solid Color Brush, and in the Color Picker, we'll set the color to black. Moving down to the Appearance category, we'll set the border thickness bottom to 2 and set all other sides to 0. Then in the Layout category, we'll set row span to 1, column span to 2, and all margin properties to 0. Next, in the Objects and Timeline panel, select the Grid entry. Then let's go to the Tools panel and double-click the Text Block tool to add a text block control to the grid. When its text becomes editable, just clear it out. With the text block selected, in the Properties panel under the Layout category, set column span to 2, set horizontal alignment to center, set vertical alignment to center, and set all margin properties to 0. Next, under the Text category, select the Font tab and click the Bold option to set the font weight property of the text block. Now we're going to add another text block control with its text set to unit price, its row to 1, its column to 0, its column span to 1, its horizontal alignment to right, its vertical alignment to center, its margin right to 4, all other margin properties set to 0, and its font weight set to bold. Our third text block will have the text blank. Its row will be set to 1, column to 1, column span to 1, horizontal alignment to left, vertical alignment to center, all margin properties set to 0, and we'll be leaving the font weight as is. Our next text block will have its text set to units in stock, its row will be set to 2, its column to 0, column span to 1, horizontal alignment to right, vertical alignment to center, margin right to 4, all other margin properties to 0, and its font weight to bold. Our next text block will have the text cleared, and its row will be set to 2, column to 1, column span to 1, horizontal alignment to left, vertical alignment to center, all margin properties are set to 0, and the font weight will be default. Our next text block will have its text set to units on order, its row to 3, column to 0, column span to 1, horizontal alignment to right, vertical alignment to center, margin right to 4, all other margins to 0, and its font weight to bold. And our last text block control will have the text property cleared, its row will be set to 3, its column to 1, column span to 1, horizontal alignment to left, vertical alignment to center, all margin properties to 0, and we'll leave the font weight alone. We should now have an item template for our XAML Carousel list box. Next, let's open the XAML view and copy the entire layout root border element. Then switch back to Visual Studio, and in the XAML view of XAML-carousel.xaml, we'll paste the copied text into the carousel item template data template. After that's done, remove the D layout overrides properties from the text block controls. Next, we need to bind our text blocks. So locate the first text block in the data template and bind its text property to product name. Locate the third text block in the data template and bind its text property to unit price. Then locate the fifth text block in the data template and bind its text property to units in stock. And lastly, locate the seventh text block in the data template and bind its text property to units on order. And then we can run the project. If you click on the XAML Carousel tab, followed by the XAML Carousel Listbox tab, the XAML Carousel Listbox should have data populated using our template. And this completes Task 2 of Exercise 1. Welcome to Task 3 of Exercise 1 of the XAML Carousel Listbox Lab. In this task, we'll add a custom path for the items in the XAML Carousel Listbox. We're going to start in the Carousel Template Solution and Expression Blend that we created in a previous task. In the Tools panel, we're going to select the Pen tool and draw a V or a U type shape on the design surface of mainwindow.xaml. Then in the XAML view of mainwindow.xaml, remove all the properties from the new path element except the data property. Then we'll copy that path element and switch back to Visual Studio. In the XAML view of XAML-carousel.xaml, we'll paste the path element into the resources collection of the user control object. Then we'll set the key property of the path element to carousel item path. Next, we'll locate the XAML Carousel Listbox Controls Carousel View Settings object and bind its item path property to the carousel item path resource. And then we can run the project. Now the items in the XAMPP Carousel list box control should follow the path we created. And that completes Task 3 of Exercise 1. Welcome to Task 4 of Exercise 1 of the XAMPP Carousel List Box Lab. In this task, we'll set up opacity effects to make the items look like they are fading into the background. Starting in the XAML or design view of XAMPP-Carousel.XAML, let's select the XAMPP Carousel List Box control. Then in the Properties window, we'll expand the View Settings property and set the Use Opacity property to True. Continuing in View Settings, click the ellipsis button next to the Opacity Effect Stops property. In the Collection Editor dialog window, we'll click the Add button 3 times to add 3 Opacity Effect Stopped objects to the collection. Then we'll select the first Opacity Effect Stop entry and set its offset to 0 and set its value to 0. Next, we'll select the second Opacity Effect Stop entry and set its offset to 0.5 with its value set to 1. For the third Opacity Effect Stopped entry, set its offset to 1 and set value to 0, and then click OK to close the dialog window. Now we can run the project. The XAMPP Carousel list box should now show the items halfway through the path at the bottom of the V or U shape as opaque. The items should gradually fade to transparent as they move towards the top of the path. And that completes Task 4 of Exercise 1. Welcome to Task 5 of Exercise 1 of the XAMPP Carousel List Box Lab. In this task, we'll add scaling effects, causing the items to appear smaller in the background. We'll start in the XAML or design view of Carousel.XAML and select the XAMPP Carousel List Box control. In the Properties window, expand View Settings and click the ellipsis button next to the Scaling Effect Stops property. In the Collection Editor dialog window, click Add 3 times to add 3 new Scaling Effect Stop objects to the collection. Select the first Scaling Effect Stop entry and set its offset to 0 and set its value to 0.3. Then we'll select the second Scaling Effect Stop entry and set its offset to 0.5 and its value to 1. Then we can select the last Scaling Effect Stop entry and set its offset to 1 and its value to 0.3. Then we can click OK to close the dialog window. And let's run the project. Now the items in the XAMPP Carousel list box control should be getting smaller towards the top of the path. And this completes the XAMPP Carousel List Box Lab.